This video, I'll show you how to make self-bypassing effects in Ableton Live. Actually, why I got this idea is because I tried to do this in many other programs and just didn't work as well as it does in Ableton. I'll show you exactly why. Now, first, let me show you the reason why you would want anything like this. And I chose the most simple example is where you want to, let's say, high pass something. So let's say I just want to introduce a high pass filter onto my drum section or my bass or whatever else. And what's going to happen when I introduce a filter like this, a high pass filter, which starts from the lows right there, going up. I'm going to show you that on a simple sawtooth example. So what I have right here is my oscillos, my trusty friend, showing you what's happening with the waveform. I'm going to choose a nicer color. Nice. Now I'm going to play some of this sawtooth with this auto filter bypassed first. Now I'm going to unbypass it just like that, and let's see what it looks like. So hearing and seeing is going to be different. You're going to hear the same thing, but it's going to look different. So you see, when I activate that filter, even though it's filtering frequencies below 26 hertz, which really doesn't matter, like you rarely have any fundamentals, you know, right there at that 26 mark and below. But what does happen because of the filter is the phase gets shifted even before that slope starts going down. So the phase shifting is real. Yeah. So what happens with that filter is even if it's steeper, it's gonna do even worse, like this. You see, so it sounds the same, it's still a sawtooth, but it's changing the phase of a couple of your harmonics here at the beginning, depending on the filter make. Yeah, so linear phase filters don't do this, but they introduce different kinds of trouble. Usually you don't use linear phase filters when you're doing stuff like this. And if it's a really steep filter, you don't really want to because you have that pre-ring. So what we can do right here is still use this filter normally, but we don't want that filter being active and on the channel all the time when we're not using it. So only for the case when I really want to do some high passing and go back, and then I want it to stop, I want it to bypass as well. So instead of making two automations, one for the frequency and one for the bypass and unbypass every time I want to do that filtering, which is sometimes like almost always before some kind of a break, some kind of a short, break inside of that kind of musical part like that, just before something happens. So I'm going to group this effect just like that. So Control G, or I'm going to undo that. You could just do this, group it, but you see Control G, always learn your shortcut. So just right click, find it, read it, and then do it yourself. Now I have that group just like that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna enable this, I'm gonna enable the macros. So what I see right here is the chain, where this effect is, where this filter is. I'm gonna rename that chain, and that's Control R, see that? So always learn your shortcuts, it's gonna save you tons of time. So this is gonna be the filter. And I'm going to add another chain, which is gonna be called clean or bypass. Okay, just like that. So if I play this sawtooth right now, it's gonna play through both of those. You see, so I have a double signal right there. Now, if I enable this chain right there, you see that I can choose when it's gonna go through each one of those. Now it's going only through the lower one. Now it's going only through the lower one. And now it goes only through the one where the filter is. So no filter, filter. Just like that. So what I want is that chain selector to move the same time with this frequency. So I'm gonna map that to the macro 1, and I'm gonna map this to the macro 1. Just like that. When I move this macro, they both move. See that? So when I go all the way down, I want it to go through this clean bypassed chain right there. But when I just move one up, just like that, one, I want it to start going through the filter. And all the way up, everything's gonna be that filter. So you see bypassed, non-bypassed. So let's hear that sawtooth being filtered. And you see when I go all the way down, when I just duck this filter all the way to 0, it just bypasses. Now you could do this for any kind of effect. I mean any kind of effect. We could be adding some, let's say, reduction of resolution right here, downsampling, and let's see what that sounds like. So none of it. See, just like that. So it bypasses immediately. Maybe this is too hard. So let's do this. But you see, I know that once I reach 0 right there, everything bypasses. So whatever I did right there in that effect, it's just gonna bypass completely. So I could fill that up with many kinds of different effects, and the moment I do this, it's just gonna go bypass, done. Nothing going through that actual chain. Yeah. So it's a really neat technique so that you don't have to automate a couple of parameters at the same time, so you could just be, automating one of them. And I talk about that in our course. So if you like this video, give us a like, subscribe, and if you want to learn more about music production, check out our full music production certificate